Weekly Young Jump is the Shueisha-owned weekly manga magazine that focuses on more mature content involving heavy violence and sexual content. You might know it for the mangas like Kingdom, Oshinoko, and Tokyo Ghoul. It started publishing in 1979 as a more mature counterpart of Weekly Shonen Jump. Young Jump was free of the restrictions that surrounded Shonen Jump. Since the audience was significantly more mature, it could handle more mature themes and subjects. And even though they're both owned by the same parent company, Young Jump and Shonen Jump see each other as rivals. From 2000 onward, the magazine started publishing more edgier manga, ones that featured increased violence and sexuality, like Elfen Lied and Gans. Luckily, that phase has long since passed. Young Jump is now a staple of high quality and enjoyable stories that are able to handle more mature themes like Golden Kamuy, The Climber, and Shadow House, while also including some stories that don't even need to be overtly sexual or violent, like Kaguya-sama Love is War. Aside from manga, Young Jump also features gravure models in their magazine as well as their cover, sometimes together with their mascot Buddy Bear. Weekly Young Magazine is the Kodansha-owned weekly magazine that started publishing in 1980 and was a project 2 decades in the work. The idea was rejected by Weekly Shonen Magazine editorial department. Only after the launch of several competitors and the retirement of the then editor-in-chief, Kodansha was finally ready for their own official Young magazine. The most influential titles that have come from this magazine are Initial D, Kaiji, and Akira. Weekly Young Magazine is also a fan of breasts. While I want to say of any size, however, they have made their preferences clear as day, with mangas such as Prison School, Parallel Paradise, Why the Hell Are You Here Teacher, and Tabawa on a Monday. Their love for the voluptuous woman don't end there. It also extends into the 3DD, with gravure models on their cover pages and in their articles, as well as their yearly reader-submitted gravure beauty contest known as Miss Magazine. Weekly Manga Action is the Futabasha-owned bi-weekly manga magazine that started publishing in 1967 and is considered the first true seinen magazine. It is known for series such as Lone Wolf and Cub, Inside Mari, and after the monthly version of Magazine Action was discontinued, it is now also the home of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. As mentioned before, Weekly Manga Action was one of the first that was truly aimed for adults, and thus the foundation of Gekika Comics. Gekika Comics are seen as a separate entity than manga. They contain more cinematic art style and more mature themes. The term is mostly used by veterans in the industry to distinguish themselves from manga, as the direct translation to manga is whimsical tale, and these Gekika are all but whimsical, with Monkey Punch's Lupin III being the biggest transgenerational franchise that has released new OVAs as recent as 2023. Big Comic is the Shogakukan-owned semi-monthly manga magazine that started publishing in 1968. The art style is very human and aims for realism. Series such as Blue Agent and Ayako are some of the more popular titles. Of course, I can't forget to mention the Guinness Book record holding series Go-Go 13, as it holds a record for the most volumes published for a single manga series. It is also the oldest manga that is still in publication, as it started in 1968. The writer of Go-Go 13 also didn't see the series as a manga but as a Gegika. There's an air of antique in this magazine, where the art style hasn't really evolved. The series in it feel as contemporary as the oldest running manga that they have. This is enforced by the fact that most of the manga that are still running are done by manga veterans, people who have been in the business for several decades, like Tetsuya Chiba, Tsuyoshi Nakaima, and until recently, Takao Saito. Champion Red is the Akita Shoten-owned manga magazine that started in 2002. And during its first 2 years was aimed at a younger audience. It was only in 2004 it became a seinen manga magazine with the slogan high quality and high-end seinen comic magazine. There's also quite a large array of more erotic stories such as Psycho no Quasar, Change 123 and DeadTube. But like with the last manga I mentioned, it is also a place for the macabre like Frankenfran and Shigurui. Truly the yin and yang of seinen magazines. But if you only care for the yin, which is erotic stories involving beautiful women, Champion Red Ichigo is just that, focusing on only Bishoujo. Harta is the Enterbrain-owned 10 issues a year magazine. Basically, it is a monthly manga magazine that skips January and September. It started publishing in 2008 under the name Fellows. At this time it was a bi-monthly magazine, but in 2013 they changed its name to Harta and also changed the publishing frequency. It publishes titles such as Sakabo to Desoga and the recent popular manga Dungeon Meshi. Harta also hosts competitions for new writers. At first it was known as Harta Comic Grand Prix, but in 2021 they continued with the Yadagarashi Cup. Monthly Comic Alive is the Media Factory owned monthly manga magazine, and as a Kadokawa subsidiary that also publishes its own light novels, it has access to a lot of these light novels to adapt into manga like Classroom of the Elite, No Game No Life and Familiar of Zero. Of course, that's just a tip of the iceberg, as many more adaptations exist within this manga. But it also has some original manga like Non Non Byari and Mariaholic as well. Young Animal is the Hakusensha owned semi-monthly manga magazine that has been publishing since 1992 and is the successor of monthly Animal House that ran between 1989 and 1992, with both Animal House and Young Animal being best known for the most acclaimed manga of all time, Berserk. That will probably sit at number 1 or number 2 on every professional list of the highest rated manga of all time. However, that doesn't mean that Berserk is the only series people care about in Young Animal. Sengatsu no Ryan, Holy Land and the long-running Futari Ecchi are all staples of the Young Animal brand. Aside from mangas, Young Animal also partakes in showcasing the female shape with gravure models, while also holding gravure contests calling these Miss Young Animal. Weekly Manga Times is the Hobuncha-owned weekly magazine that started in 1956 with the catchphrase "Live your week to the fullest." And honestly, by looking through their published series, the only thing that is truly full are the bras of the characters, with Uso Bitch Senpai, Kanojo the Ippai and Saki the Succubus Hungers Tonight, to name a few of their double D tiered manga. And while they claim their audience is 40 to 50-year-old men, the aforementioned manga seem clearly aimed at horny late teens. Also, the cover illustrator Keizo Tsukamoto is the Guinness World Record holder of the longest career in the world as an illustrator for a single magazine, who for 38 years and 5 months drew realistic faces of women on every chapter cover. Monthly Comic Ryū is the Tokama Shoten owned monthly manga magazine that started publishing in 1979, then ceased production in 1986 and relaunched in 2006. And in 2018 it ceased printing and became a fully digital manga. The type of manga it releases is quite varied, from the sexual absurd like Monster Musume to the overly serious Legends of the Galactic Heroes portrait of heroes, with Monster Musume being the epitome of the demi-human manga that they like to feature a lot. Thanks to the influx of doujinshi artists getting hired to work at Monthly Comic Ryū, a lot of the mangas involve some form of demi-human like Nurse Hitomi's Monster Infirmary and A Centaur's Life, to mention a few. Comic Bench is the Shinchosa owned monthly manga magazine that started a weekly magazine back in 2001 and changed to become a monthly magazine in 2011. And became a web magazine in 2024. When it was initially published, the publishing company was Comics. Comics as a company was founded by several veterans of the weekly Shonen Jump, like City Hunter's Tsukasa Hojo and Fist of the North Star Tetsuo Hara. The both of them went on to create works based on their older manga, like Tetsuo Hara creating Fist of the Blue Sky, which is a prequel to Fist of the North Star, and Tsukasa Hojo creating Angel Heart, which uses the same characters as City Hunters but is not a continuation. Dengeki Maoh is the ASCII Media Works published monthly manga magazine that started publishing in 2005. As a Kadokawa subsidiary, Dengeki Maoh has a ton of light novels and video games it can pick and choose from to make a manga adaptation for, like Black Bullet, Spice and Wolf, Persona 4, Rune Factory 2, Rumble Roses and Girlfriend Beta. With the slogan, "The fusion of games and comics," you can see this magazine is for the gamers. Whether you like RPG, fighting, visual novels, free browser games or video game adaptations of anime based on light novels, this magazine basically got it all for you and then some. However, this isn't just an adaptation magazine and does have some original work as well, like Instant Bullet and Tropical Fish Yearns for Snow. Weekly Manga Goraku is the Nihon Bungeisha owned weekly manga magazine that started publishing in 1968 and despite multiple manga magazines claiming to be for the 40 to 50-year-old market with Manga Goraku, I actually believe it more, with titles such as Ganibao, Bota Bota and Monkey Peak showing more mature themes without being stupidly sexual. Not to mention that it doesn't have some stupidly sexual series, because it does. But what I'm saying is that it's less frequent. Weekly Manga Goraku also has a lot of longer running titles that have been publishing since the 90s. Titles such as Sake no Hoshodo, Minami no Teo and Tenpai. Kindai Mahjong is the Takeshobo-owned monthly manga magazine that started back in 1972 and is a Mahjong-based magazine covering stories about people playing Mahjong, like Mahjong legend Akagi, hero and princess of Yipong, who has to face the 45th president of the United States in a Mahjong game. While every manga involves Mahjong to some extent, there can be a huge difference between the genres, from comedy to romance to battle shonen. This manga also hosts their own tournament called Mahjong Strongest Competition, with the aim to find the strongest Mahjong player, with more parlor rules than actual competitive Mahjong rules. Yonking is the Shonen Gohosha-owned semi-monthly manga magazine that started publishing in 1987, with a target audience of high schoolers and older, with a lot of delinquent manga such as Bad Boys, Arakure Knight and Sunken Rock. The manga also involves a lot of erotic themes and features a lot of manga with pretty women along with their delinquent mangas. And not to be left out, Yonking also features gravure pages within its magazine. However, they do not feature them as much as many others, and even having several periods where they don't feature any at all. These weren't all the seinen manga I could find, so a part 2 will be in the works. If I missed any, post them in the comments below so I might be able to include them in the next video. I'm Durcoin, and thank you for watching.